As we breathe deep, we draw into the holy name that is Yahweh's presence, our God, our Creator. Yahweh Elohim, the perfect manifestation of God's Holy Spirit in the flesh, that is Yeshua, HaMessiach, and the Abun, life-giving breath of God's Spirit that resides within each and every one of us. We trust and embrace the holy recognition of the source of which we all come from, which is our perfect, loving God, Creator. We surrender into the deepest parts within us to find and recognize the presence of God, the presence of God which precedes the very breath of our bodies, the Abun rising within us to spark life within us in each and every moment, the gift of grace that we walk in this human journey, as we are gifted life to manifest the nature of God's presence within, to reveal and magnify His glory in all that we do, to embrace the holy love that is her Spirit. Yeshua, and as you hear the name Yeshua, remember and know that for all that are new upon this call, that this is the actual name that was given to Jesus before time, the first utterance of word into creation. Yeshua, and we are thankful that Yeshua establishes a holy hedge of protection around this time, that each person will be blessed to receive only that which God intends, receive the words that God intends for them to receive, be protective of many words that are not present at this time within their journey. We know the Spirit of God manifests within each and every one of you. For the very evidence of life within you proves the existence of God's Spirit within you, for life cannot sustain without God's presence near. Breathe deep. Be freed from any thoughts or limitations you've embraced of the past, where humanity has told you of a God at a great distance. And embrace the truth that it is about surrendering into the truth and understanding that all life emerges first from our divine Creator to manifest and make known His holy presence, His divine grace, His perfect love, her holy wisdom. And breathing deep. And as I mentioned, our brother Chris was nice enough to reach out this week and ask a very simple question. And I've known many people to experience this. And what happens is many times people on the prayer calls tend to fall asleep or draw to a state where they're not recognizing the passage of time. And there are many different concepts or understandings around this, but the one that's most recognized in the circle I know that we're now in with the number of people that are here is the term used within the Christian faith as described as resting in the Spirit. And I believe it is when God's Spirit is ministering directly unto your spirit and purifying you and releasing things of your flesh, meaning your soul, and magnifying His presence within your body. Because remember, you are triune in nature, spirit, flesh, and body, spirit, soul, and body. So there are times as we go through this process of learning and instruction where you will find that you find yourself drawn into a deeper place of God's presence And the words of instruction upon the earth aren't being heard because it is God's Spirit ministering directly into you. And there are times where God will bring by grace freedom from things of a generational, spiritual influence of some kind that you don't even need to know about. That you don't have to be instructed to understand that that was the spirit of high judgment that was known 3 generations before, or that was the spirit of rape that was cast upon 7 generations before, or something like that. When God heals and makes these things new within you, there are times this is transpiring in the process of healing, restoration, and renewal, and you don't need to know what God has done within this beautiful offering of like spiritual surgery. You don't have to be instructed to know what is transpiring while God is gifting you through grace. The holy recognition of his Spirit. And this is truly opportunity for the miraculous. But what happens is we as humans, we have this tendency to want to think about it. We want to ponder on it. We want to get lost in thought to look at why is this happening instead of, thank you, God, I trust that you accomplished something within this time. So as I mentioned to Chris, I've seen this happen so many times, thousands of times for people, and what I've witnessed in it is this blessed and holy recognition of a truly remarkable gift of God's Spirit reaching in and touching the individual in a way of grace, meaning not by their power, not by their ability to reach to God, but God's Spirit manifesting and making known God's Spirit within. And as I've mentioned over these past couple weeks, we've been kind of delving into the deeper understandings, the things that fall under the heading when Yeshua said to the disciples, there are truths that you cannot bear, and there are things that they cannot bear. And we are reaching into these levels of understanding. So there are times when we are sharing these offerings, or Ina's speaking, or I'm speaking, or other people offer words of thought or sharings back through emails, that sometimes at a certain stage within a person's journey, they might not be ready to hear certain aspects of the instruction, and God will rest them in the Spirit. Not even just to minister unto them, but to allow them to receive directly of God's Spirit while the instruction unfolds for others. And again, God's Spirit is ministering directly into them. They are receiving the words from God's Spirit and not allowing for, God is not allowing for constructs or limitations they have formed within the human mind to limit or resist or hold back the possibility of blessing. So there's times where the resting in the Spirit is also a protection, because many times we encounter things that shake what we believe to be our identity. We have formed our identity by the experiences that we have walked through between the ages of 0 to 7 years old, and then the way others name us, the different roles or identities that we formed throughout our lives. And we lose sight that God holds a bigger image of our identity. So there's times when we encounter a deeper understanding that we want to grasp onto what we formed as a human identity and not allow for God to open us to a deeper understanding of who we are in spirit before him. So again, that resting in the Spirit could emerge in such a way to protect the individual to receive the instruction without them being able to set up barriers, because God, by grace, desires them to move forward into a greater understanding. And as a review, what we were talking about last week, and both Ina and I touched upon the subject of understanding that we need to relinquish our definition of humanity. We need to relinquish our hold that this is all about a human journey. And we need to recognize that we are here as instruments for the restoration of the spiritual realm, those that Yeshua ministered to as he entered unto the belly of the dead. as he entered into the realm of darkness, the order of principalities. When he left the cross, he entered in and he ministered unto the dead. So we are here more than just human-centered. We are instruments formed by God to bring restoration to the things of a spiritual nature. And again, those things of a spiritual nature rise within the flesh, meaning the soul, because the Aramaic word that described flesh was soul, not what we've come to know in present-day language. So when we hear spirit, flesh, and body, and I know this is a bit of review for many of you, but to be spirit, flesh, and body, that is how we are formed in the image of God. When God said, we will form a new race, we will create it in our image. It was triune in nature, spirit, flesh, and body. Spirit, soul, and body. So everything of a spiritual nature that rises within us comes from within the flesh. It aligns with the order of principalities. It aligns with the order of the spiritual realm. And our body will manifest what we are living. So Yeshua said, live not of the flesh, set aside things of the body. So if we are living of the flesh, that means that we are living of the spiritual influences that rise from the belly of the dead, the order of principalities, the spiritual realm. So he said to live not of the flesh, set aside things of the body, live as the Spirit, so that the fullness of God's glory would be known within you and manifested for all to see. So, if we draw to living as the Spirit, meaning the purity of that which is spirited that we are created, the triune form, our spirits manifested before God, presently walking in the garden with God's Spirit, it is we that dwell within the presence of God. It is our flesh that manifests all forms of corruption. So if we live and dwell within the flesh, we live of the flesh, our body will manifest corruption. Our body will manifest iniquity. It will manifest disease. It will manifest an identity that we form as a human mindset instead of the purity of that which God sees us to be. So again, that's the triune nature of our form. That is how we were formed in the image of divinity. So to understand how we reside within this, if we choose to live as the Spirit, meaning pure before God's presence, to allow for His Spirit to fully manifest through us, we can do that by embracing the holy attributes that represent God. We choose not to live of the flesh. We set aside the things of the body to live as a spirit so that our body would manifest God's presence for all to see and know of His presence. And I want to speak briefly to the miraculous nature of our God if we're willing to do this. And I need to preface this by saying, I need you to understand that this has nothing whatsoever to do with Larry and the things I'm about to share. God has blessed me to experience things that I cannot for 1 second say that I had the power to do. When I broke my back, it took me a number of days, 3 days, to find the prayer and then 5 days for it to fully manifest. In addition, there was this time where I was living at my house on Bay Street in Booth Bay Harbor, Maine. And there was a major windstorm and extremely heavy rains. And it was right after a heavy winter, and all the meltage had occurred. And the road, and the yard on the side of our house was gelatinous. It was all like, it was really, when you stepped on one section, you could see a wave go underneath the lawn. It was so wet. But what was happening was we had this huge split spruce tree. It came up out of the ground as a short stump and then split into two massive trunks that went up somewhere in the range of about 60 feet each. And this was fascinating to me because the year before, I had cut down one leg of that tree because it was dead and it was straining and killing the other part of the tree, and it just needed to be trimmed back. So I did. I cut it away, took it down, and moved it off. Now, the one that was remaining was the one that was pointing toward the house. And this windstorm came up, and I walked outside, and I'm like looking at this tree, and I'm watching the ground heave and move as the tree is heaving and moving. And the wind was coming in such a direction that it was blowing it right at the house. And I had just put a new addition on the house, which had both my office and my ex-wife's office within it. And I'm watching this tree, and I'm just standing there watching it, and all of a sudden I see the tree starting to go. And it is moving directly at my office, and I look into my office window, and there's my little boy James, probably at that time maybe 2 or 3 years old, standing in the window, right where the tree was going. And I just felt the presence of God within me, not that which was within my flesh, which would have been fear, which would have been yelling and screaming to tell him to get away, which would have confused a little boy to wonder, why is Daddy yelling at me through glass, and what is he doing, what is he telling me? He would have been looking at me trying to figure out what I'm doing instead of getting out of there. What happened was I just felt the presence of God within me, because God graced me to live of the Spirit, not of the flesh. Wasn't by my power, wasn't by my doing. And in that moment, I felt this prayer rise within me. And as I spoke this prayer, the tree turned, the whole tree turned within the ground and fell perfectly beside the house, between the power lines, missed the power lines, missed the lilac bush, and missed the corner of the house, and fell down, and one branch of this massive tree poked a hole in one of the clapboards as it went by. And again, this was not something I did. I felt the presence of God rise within me, and it changed the course of this massive tree that was about to fall right on the house, right where James was standing. It was about trusting in God. And again, God graced me with the trust to act in this way. This is about magnifying and exalting God's presence, because this isn't what Larry did. This was what God graced in the moment. Another time, I was off in upstate New York. I had a person that I prayed over many times, and another person that I prayed over many times that was a massage therapist. And I'm off in New York. I come back from New York. It's now, I think it was about a week later from when I was in New York, and I'm up at one of our local Booth Bay festivals, walking through the common, looking at the different little crafts tents and everything, and all of a sudden this woman comes running up to me and was so thankful that I came by while the massage therapist was working on her, and I came in and prayed over her. Again, we're speaking to the truths that are deeper than most could bear in those days in the past. I'm praying in thanksgiving that God will guide you to understand this. And as I'm asking her, well, what are you talking about? She's describing to me that God allowed my presence to come to her in prayer in that room while she was receiving massage that previous weekend while I happened to be in New York. Both she and the massage therapist agreed that I had come in there, and when they were thankful that I showed up, I quietly came in, prayed at her feet, then walked up and prayed at her head while the massage therapist was working around. Then I blessed them both and left the room. I can't say that I had anything to do with that. It was God, by His grace, allowing them to receive recognition of His presence. So what I was gifted was this opportunity for this woman to stand before me, thanking me for this gift where I was present with us in the room. And I was like, no, I can't take any credit for that. She's like, what do you mean? I said, that was all God. And honestly, she was on the fence of whether she decided to actually believe in God. Was there really a God? And going through this process that many do within humanity of questioning their origin from a spiritual nature and God, whether God exists or not. And I said to her, I said, I have to explain to you something. She said, what? I said, that weekend I was in upstate New York. She said, no. Me, and then she named the massage therapist. We were both there. You were in the room. I said, yeah, but you can check with a bunch of people. We were doing an event in upstate New York. It was not me. God allowed for my presence to be utilized because the two of you found comfort in my presence coming in and bringing you prayer, but it wasn't me. It was God allowing for this to occur. It is for the sake of God's glory, that you would remember that this was not something Larry pulled off by some magical, mystical thing. This was something that God accomplished because you found comfort in receiving that image while you were receiving a massage, and then you received prayer, and God allowed it to be this moment to magnify his presence. Again, if we submit ourselves before the presence of God and surrender all things of the flesh and submit and seek and rest before God's presence, not the things we've learned of the earth, because this came a number of years after that time I told you about where I was standing in the kitchen and I just died to myself. It went over a course of about a 6-hour period, carried on until about 2 o'clock in the morning, where I was letting go of everything I thought I believed. Every religious understanding, every thought that was given to me, every instruction I was just letting it all go because I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree that Christians should be in a position that we should be representing people with a machine gun across our chest and carrying a backpack on us, an 80-pound backpack, showing up as a warrior saying, hey, I'm standing here for Christ. I couldn't agree with that anymore because I believed that there was far greater life in the way that Yeshua lived. And that was when Yeshua's name was brought to me. When I relinquished the name that was Jesus, I found out that his original name was Yeshua. Then I later did research and found out more understanding that yes, it was the name that was given before time. Yes, it was actually birthed from the name of God, Yahweh Elohim. So I would ask for you each to allow for God's Spirit to rest you in his Spirit, to breathe deep each day and relinquish the definitions you have formed of yourself. Relinquish the identities that have been given to you by people of the earth. I believe there was a point within Scripture when there was a prince that came to Yeshua and said, what do I need to do to follow you? He said, relinquish your titles, sell all your possessions, and come with me. And the prince just couldn't do that. He couldn't let go of the identity that earth had formed of him as this prince, the Lord over many flocks, the Lord over many people, the Lord over many properties, the Baron over many lands. And he could not relinquish those things. Now, Yeshua didn't tell him to become a pauper. He said, relinquish your titles and sell all your possessions and come follow me. That didn't mean he was going to be broke. It meant that his assets, his possessions were going to become liquid in such a way that he could function, live, dwell, move, and seek the higher pursuits within his life. Seek the spiritual reckoning. Support the process of serving others. And he just couldn't do it. He could not relinquish how humanity had defined him. And again, how grace had formed him. Because he didn't do anything to earn the princely title. He was born into it by grace. And even in that grace, he didn't have enough trust to say, okay, God, well, you graced me within this title in the beginning. What would it be like if I just surrendered that back unto you? And I relinquished my hold upon it so that your presence might be magnified, so that your holy glory would be known, so that the very image of your presence, that which is Yeshua, the first breath of creation, the first utterance of word, when you establish an image of yourself, your flesh, Yahweh, perfect spirit, Yeshua, perfect flesh, Amun, breath of life manifested throughout creation. Again, the triune nature manifested. These are the deeper understandings that we share, those things that they could not bear back in the days of the disciples. This is a deeper, more powerful image of that which is Yeshua. It is specifically the image of God in Yeshua. Yahweh, Yeshua, Abun, spirit, soul, body. Spirit, connecting point unto all things of creation. God uttered the first word of creation. What is Yeshua? He is the living word. The first word of creation was an image of God's self. God, Yahweh Elohim, manifested fully. Yah, Yeshua, Avun, Elohim. So if you draw to the website, and for those who haven't, please go to gracehealing.org, and please go to the instruction on the image we use for the logo for Grace Healing, where it describes Yahweh, Yeshua, and all the glory that is revealed by his presence and all that he revealed upon this earth, returning unto the Abun, the breath within me, and the breath within you. Please seek deeply as to understand that which is God's Spirit within you, and choose to measure each thought, word, and action before the nature and attributes of God. And yes, you will find there will be times in this instructional process or in your times of seeking God that you will just find, wait a minute, a period of time just transpired, what just happened? And you will find yourself deepened in a reckoning and an awareness of God's presence. You will find yourself in the aspusia, the deeper parts within that are God's Spirit, when you are willing to relinquish the titles you've embraced upon this earth. Not that which is formed of the flesh, not that which is defined by familial relations or how your body is represented upon this earth, but specifically how God sees you in spirit. And I hope this night blesses each and every one of you to understand that God is in you and one with you. And in this, I want to just relinquish you over to Ina for any words that he brings forth from her, any wisdom that she wishes to share, and to allow for God's Spirit to move through her in a prayer of blessing for each and every one of you.
Yes. It comes forth the word, and I just want to begin in prayer and just really quick move into a blessing upon each of you that are in the sound of my voice of Yahweh calling, drawing you closer. And we breathe deep. Mosotoria shivokoloria viasianamian. Voshipio sotoka nyadavasipipia soloriambaya. Musoyoloya viasianiato keriakia. Thank you, Yahweh, Yeshua, Abun, for each of your children that are on this call tonight. Even those for the first time being on this call, you have drawn every single one of them. You have drawn them by the Spirit to recognize and know who you are, or wanting to know a deeper relationship, drawing them unto you. And even now, in each and every one of the sound of this voice that you use, they hear the love of who you are within them, vibrating deep within their heart and spirit, right where they are. You are meeting them right where they are. Nothing they have to do, nothing they have to be, but just to receive you. Even now, in anything that you are going through, even now, God, at this moment, is receiving you right where you are. If there's things going on in your life, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, even now, if there are times that have come and you don't know why, and you're releasing those things off of you even now, it's that simple, just to release them. And even Yeshua, to direct them into that, to release those things that are not of you, any hurts, any pains, any misunderstandings, and those within the body, of things of those people, of your precious sons and daughters right now going through physical, that they release that and just say, yeah, they just take this away from me. I don't want to keep this that's in the body, in the thoughts, things going on with your family, financial, work, whatever. Just let it go, release it, and receive the fullness of his love. And how do you do that? It's just spending time with him, getting to know him, just like a friend, and drawing closer. And I just want to encourage you tonight as you each go your own separate ways and that which is ahead of you, that you know more than anything that God loves you. He has chosen you. He has set you apart. And it's not a coincidence that you're even here tonight, and those that have been on the call before, that there is a deeper place in which God is calling you. May you even now feel the presence of him within you, even the breath that you breathe. And even Yeshua, seeking you first in all that they do, may you continue to draw them even now. And it is a privilege and honor that you would use us here in Grace Healing to draw them into that place, to be in service into those that you bring as precious children now. That just that drawing, no matter what it is, to be just childlike and release anything, even questions, all those things, just releasing into him and breathing deep, recognizing the breath of life. And as we breathe as one, once again, breathing deep through the nostrils, can you feel the presence of God with your breath? Can you feel the heart that beats? He's speaking to you. His love is all it's about. I keep it simple. That's the only thing I know. And it's grown from there. So I share that with you tonight. So thank you, Yeshua, even now, that you cover each and every one of your children. Keep them in your perfect will. Thank you for your love that sustains and deepens within them. They grow in you each and every day. Thank you, you have covered and watched over them. You preceded them in every direction that they go. Thank you for your peace that surpasses all understanding. Your grace is so sufficient with them, guiding and directing them, and everywhere they go and all that you have put their feet to, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. So we do lift you on high, and we thank you for all these things. In your most precious name.
Yarve Elohim, Yeshua Kutuyamana, Yeshua Messiah, Avun Tadivisna, Avun Solibentu Kurievas Masipi Andre. Yarve, we praise you. Thank you for the gift of our sister Ina and all that you expressed through her and the blessing upon each and every person. May you each be blessed into deep and holy sleep, strengthened and renewed for the days ahead, and find yourself manifesting God's Spirit and the holy attributes and design that his perfect Spirit has manifested within you. We love you all and look forward to serving you in the future, and pray in thanksgiving for this time to serve you. Blessings in all you do.